First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tired Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show is called First Things First, and my first thing today and every day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and let's go. Let's go. So this is what we typically do on what day is it? A Wednesday? Wednesday. Dang, this week is kind of... Anyway, on a hump day, we typically go hour one, we look local, what's happening on the left coast side of town. Hour two, we go national, international, and beyond. And in the third hour, we do a deep dive on a topic or a person of interest. So we're on point with that today. And it seems like things are speeding up. I feel like the time has just jumped into warp speed ahead of this election. So we'll be covering a lot of ground in a little territory. It's also a wealth building Wednesday. So you will meet a small, socially innovative, Black-owned, woman-owned local business. We do that every Wednesday, top of the second hour. And in our third hour today, we'll be hearing from Dr. Gerald Horn. He's a fan favorite. He is a prolific author and a professor of history at the University of Houston. But we are getting right into it in hour one. Special guest in studio. I'm excited to have him here. He's the CEO of the Amity Foundation and president and CEO. That means he leads all the different aspects of the organization, including continually seeking continual systemic improvements for marginalized populations. He oversees dozens of contracts for the Amity Foundation in California and Arizona, including 4 residential campuses serving over 500 people with histories of criminal justice involvement. We'll get into more of what all of that means and why we're going there on this day. Boy, there's a lot to talk about. But Doug Bond, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me,
Thanks for
Dominic.
coming in and joining me today. On this day, well, let's start with the basic for those not familiar. Your Amity serves people who have been involved in the justice system, who on a live-in basis and a not live-in basis.
That's correct. Yes, we both work with people in residential settings that have returned home from incarceration. We actually serve about 50,000 just involved individuals.
Wow, that's a lot of folks.
Yes, it is a lot of folks. We do a lot of work with people in prisons. We work in about 21 prison institutions doing therapeutic services for treatment and cognitive behavioral therapy, helping to prepare people to come home. And then we provide them residential support in collaboration with many other community-based orgs. I was also one of the people that was helped by the organization, both as a foster child and then later on as an adult.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. It seems like the whole carceral system and what it means to go in and life on the inside and what it, means to come out in that transition has been a huge topic for us the last couple weeks. And partly it's, because we seem to be in a shift of consciousness and understanding right now. I would say macro over the past 10 years, but then sort of a shift in tone over the past year or so. So I think it's helpful for people to be able to understand what that process is. So when you talk about mental health support, that's not just people with a diagnosis, right? And I was thinking about it when I was reading up on you. I've never been incarcerated, but when you really think about transition from one set of rules and conditions to a radically different set for any human,
Right.
That's got to be taxing from a mental health perspective.
Absolutely. Just going from incarceration back to the community is very taxing. It's very stressful. People need to decompress from that process. If you think about the post-traumatic stress disorders that just come from that alone and coming back to our communities. And then those of us that haven't been incarcerated, that have been impacted by the justice system, foster children, family members, the ripple effect of incarceration is significant. It's not only the individuals that are incarcerated, but the community that's impacted as well.
Right. So you yourself were a foster kid.
I was.
And you had family members, close family members that were incarcerated.
Yes, both my mother and father were incarcerated.
Doesn't get any closer than that.
No.
Talk a little bit about that story. Like, how does that reflect on your formative years?
Yeah, so the founders of the organization helped get me out of foster care. I will say it is traumatic as a child going to visit your parents while they're incarcerated, and you're in several homes. I was in about a dozen foster homes with people you don't know. And you don't understand why you're there. I'm thinking back to when I was 6 years old and in foster homes. You don't understand why your parents aren't with you and what's going on. And to go see them behind glass or in prisons, in visiting rooms is pretty frightening for a child. And the impact of that is significant. And so having a place to go to like Amity was very healing. I was one of the first children to be reunited with their father. In the 80s, when frankly a lot of folks that came out of prison weren't getting custody, especially men, with their children back then. And so to have my sister and I reunited with my father and spend 2 years at Amity so he could get the treatment and support he needed, and we were able to get the support we needed as a family to heal.
So when you reunited with your dad, you lived at Amity?
I did, yes.
And obviously he lived there. You
Yes.
guys all lived there together.
We lived there together.
And that helped you to get on your feet to where you guys would be able to remain together?
It did. Yeah, it helped us to be able to become a family again, because he had to go through things for his addiction and all the things that affected him, the traumas that he had been through. I didn't understand this as a child, but I later understood it as an adult because I came to Amity later in my early 20s. For support as well, and learned about all the trauma that we go through in life and the healing that needs to take place.
You said in the 80s a lot of parents that were coming out of the carceral system were not getting custody of their kids. Is it better now?
I think it's getting better. I'm a huge foster youth advocate, and I will say that we're trying to create more pathways for family reunification. Back in the 80s, people that were incarcerated were irredeemable. And
that's how society views them.
That's how we categorize people that were coming out of incarceration as irredeemable. I think today we've gone a long ways to humanize and bring people hope and dignity and to heal families we didn't have a lot of evidence and research on that process. Today we have a lot of evidence and research that shows that bringing parents back together with their family members and their children is a much better process than taking children and putting them in the foster care system and expecting the foster children to have a good life and the parents to be okay. I think bringing even parents that are working on themselves back with their children while they're working on themselves, which is what I experienced, is a better process than keeping children in the foster care system.
Yeah, I mean, some things, when you say it, it sounds obvious, but you need the data to back that up.
You do. And when I was early on in Amity, there wasn't that data. And now there is a lot of research and data that shows the support for that. I think you see a lot more programs that are really helping both mothers and fathers regain custody of their children and heal their families.
In your case, your dad took custody of you and your sister. Then did your mom come back into the picture at some point?
Yeah, my mom got out in 1986, and she struggled on and off for quite a while. And both my mother and father did. Amity was there for both of them. She spent her entire life with Amity Foundation and changed her life.
Wow. Okay. And so it must be, I mean, I'm sure you've told this story many times and I appreciate
Sure.
you retelling it, but it must be amazing now to be running this whole operation that had such a huge impact on your own life.
It's very inspiring. It gives me a lot of hope. I was just in some of our prison projects last week talking to our youth and folks that have, life in prison sentences that frankly have hope that they can come home and they can change their lives. Young adults that frankly made bad decisions that can heal from that and make amends for their mistakes. It gives me hope to see that we're hoping to avoid a younger generation from going into the carceral system. And I also know the full impact because I've lived that of when we really help people come home and support them, not only themselves, but their families can also heal as a whole.
I'm sure you also know some quirks, some gaps, some things in the system that you could only see if you've been inside of that system.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. I'm into systems change. I will say that things have gotten much better over the years. We've dramatically improved a lot of our systems and are continuously doing that. I think they always can use improvement, and I'm a big systems person, so not just Amity Foundation as a whole, but, I think we can always do better with our government agencies and with our community-based orgs and address some of the policy issues that are in place.
And I would venture to guess that you said you're a big systems person coming up through Amity. I would venture to guess you're also a person that feels, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that it's hard to heal an individual without touching the family.
You have to. I mean, you have to either, for individuals that don't have family, is create a family of choice. A lot of folks don't have family that are coming back, but you have to heal the whole family. You can't separate it out and just say we're going to address this one thing with folks that come home and anyone that's in a process of transformation, not just people that are incarcerated.
Right. Anyone trying to change their life or change their community. Well, this conversation is, of course, to some degree tied to a big event happening tomorrow. We'll talk about that.
It is.
But there's so many issues that touch the work that you're doing, so we'll continue that. And you're invited in if you want to get in the conversation with Doug Bond, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580, any day, all day. Let's talk about it. KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward. Tabitha Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later today.
I spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
So we're in this setting, where justice, law and order, and how we deal with California's massive. We really have a huge population of incarcerated folks.
We do.
How do we stack up compared to other states?
Yeah, I'll say California has been on a road of improving that. When I first started working in the field, we had about 175,000 people that were incarcerated in state prison. Today we have about 95,000. We have a lot more that we can do. And, I think we have learned that folks that are getting rehabilitation and treatment and services in the community creates better public safety strategies for individuals. And so, I think we still have one of the largest prison and jail systems in the country and obviously in the world. But I think that we have made a lot of progress over the last, I'd say, decade to help to unwind a lot of that and bring people home safely.
Give me some examples of the progress that you're talking about.
I think some of the examples, is really incentivizing more programs for people while they're incarcerated. So if you're incarcerated, the focus should be on rehabilitation for that individual, giving people treatment, giving people mental health and education, job training skills. What are all the things that are actually going to create safer communities when people come home? Just keeping an institution where somebody doesn't assault an officer, which of course you don't want that, or escape a prison is not a bar for success. And I think California has realized that, and that's why they're working on the California model, which you've heard a lot about. I was able to co-chair the governor's advisory committee for San Quentin and reimagining what San Quentin would look like. And so, I think we've learned that, we've built prisons historically to keep people in from the two things I just mentioned, from assaulting officers and from escaping. And now we have to rethink what incarceration looks like for rehabilitation, bringing people home safely. And ultimately, what are the supports that people need when they come back home? Do they have residential campuses? The campuses that you mentioned earlier in the introduction are places of healing when people come home. So they can get the full wraparound services, and people leave with substance abuse treatment, behavioral health, healthcare, employment, and they're leaving with tens of thousands of dollars in savings and career paths, and have demonstrated
savings because they're working and they're saving up while they're there.
Because they're working and they're saving up while they're there, and they're in livable job career paths. These aren't entry-level jobs. We're trying to get people into family sustainable wage jobs, so they can take care of their families when they're back in the community. And that's a career path for a lot of folks, that we're getting people into growth sector industries and giving them the healing on the inside, because it's not just about a job. We have to do all the emotional literacy, moral development, family dynamics to really make sure people are safe and successful when they come home and get the support that they need.
How does a person end up in some place like the Amity residential spots?
Yeah, so
I'm sure they're coveted.
Yeah, we work with many community-based orgs. I will also say, of course, I love Amity Foundation, but there are amazing community-based orgs out there, and so we work as a coordinating organization to help make sure that people get to safe places like Amity Foundation. We have an assessment process that we start with people while they're incarcerated and then transition people into the community. And as we're reimagining what incarceration and rehabilitation looks like, those are the kind of community-based supports that we need for everyone coming home. And so there's hundreds of community-based orgs that are doing incredible work here in Los Angeles that support individuals when they come home.
Yeah, I think ideally we'd get to the point where every individual had a fully supportive transition, right, from being incarcerated to being fully independent.
That's absolutely right. That's what we want for everyone when they come home, is to have that support and the independence they need to make sure that they're fully supported and on a trajectory of success.
And Molly Bell's in the chat. She says foster care is a help, isn't it? And so I guess she's reflecting on what you were sharing, your experience. And I have, for whatever reason, a lot of friends that spent time in foster care. And it seems like it can be a help. And it can also be a very difficult system.
It can be. I think for some it can be a help. It also is very hard on children. I'll say, children naturally want to be with their parents. I've had some really good foster parents, and I've had some really bad foster parents. And, I commend many foster parents I know that do good work and open their houses and their hearts for children that have been impacted by parents that struggle with addiction or incarceration or many other social challenges. And it is tough when you see the challenges that people faced. The foster system in general is a challenging system in addition to the carceral system.
Yeah, I mean, the constant, moving, stories of kids having to put their stuff in a bag and go from one spot to another. It just seems, it's better than being on the street or whatever other options there may be, but it feels like a lot of our carceral system is very much not geared toward young people, which should it be? But something has to care for young people who are in and out of the system. I've seen some data in South LA, numbers in some of our South LA high schools as high as 60% of those children being foster kids.
Right. Yeah, and I think for a lot of foster children that don't have a transition either to adoption or back with their parents, once they age out of foster care, that becomes a very challenging time for foster children. I will say, as somebody that was on my own since I was 15, it is hard for foster youth to be out there at 18 years old and expect to be ready for society and for the community, and really cut off from a lot of the things that children would have with their parents. I know I'm raising a 20-year-old today, and she would, I couldn't imagine her being on her own at 18.
Even at 20, look, people think that's a grown-up because you ain't raised one. But I think it's a fair question, Molly Bell, and especially in light of the struggles that we have specifically in Los Angeles County about how we support young people, whether it be in foster care or in juvenile detention. I think yesterday Los Padrinos was declared unfit.
Right.
Which means what? It has to shut down in 60 days or something?
Right. Yeah, I think that's been one of the things that we're really focused on is youth. We work in probation camps and with youth that are coming out of the carceral system, and they need a lot of support and attention. And a lot of them are former or foster youth that ended up in the juvenile justice system. And if we don't create healing environments for them and really focus on their needs and expect them not to end up in the adult carceral system, I think we're being unrealistic. There's a lot of systems of care. I think you mentioned this for adults that are coming out of incarceration. There are not a lot of systems of care for youth that are experiencing incarceration. And I know that you hear and see the struggles here in LA with our incarcerated youth. And we need to figure out, I'd love to get to the point where we're more front end and dealing with prevention and early education, early trauma from a lot of children. A lot of this really ties back to early childhood trauma. If we really want to get in front of the problem and stop the pipeline of individuals going into the juvenile justice system and the prison system.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, now here we're about to go into news, traffic, and sports. We'll continue our conversation with Doug Bond on the other side, Amity Foundation. Here comes my editorializing. To me, the mentality that says you try kids as adults is a mentality that leads to jails and juvenile systems becoming schools of criminality rather than places of rehabilitation. Guess what? Kids ain't adults. You can say it all day, doesn't make it so. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know from BIN News. Vice President Kamala Harris says she's open to slavery reparations for Black Americans. In a radio town hall event with the Breakfast Club host Charlemagne the God in Detroit, Michigan yesterday, Harris said reparations must be studied. A North Carolina man is facing charges for allegedly threatening FEMA workers. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office said 44-year-old William Parsons was arrested and charged with, quote, going armed to the terror of the public, end quote. Israel has reportedly told the U.S. it will not target Iranian nuclear and oil sites when it responds to Iran's recent missile attack. Reports say Israel has agreed to focus on military targets for its next attack. And Apple is introducing a new iPad mini. It's available to order now and will be in stores next week on October 23rd. It'll support Apple Intelligence, the tech giant's new suite of AI features. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are back on the field tonight against the Mets in the National League Championship Series. Game 3 in the best-of-7 jumps off at 5 o'clock. The next 3 games are in New York. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts said he is not moving Shohei Ohtani in the batting order to give him more chances to bat with runners on base. Roberts is keeping Ohtani in the leadoff position. Here's something to keep on your radar if Ohtani continues to struggle in the playoffs. Ohtani is 0 for 19 at the plate with the bases empty. He's 6 for 8 with men on base. Stay tuned on this situation. Interesting development in the Lakers preseason game Tuesday night against Golden State in Vegas. Most of the crowd of 16,000 stood up and cheered when Bronny James entered the game with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Bronny finished the game but had only 2 points. He was 1 for 5 and missed all 3 of his 3-point shots. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Dr. Renee here. Did you know this time of year is considered peak asthma season because we typically see a spike in asthma-related hospitalizations? If you have asthma and are having difficulty breathing despite medication, it's time to check in with your doctor so you can help avoid landing yourself in the hospital this season. To learn more about managing your asthma, visit www.luma-edu.com. That's LUMA-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
This truck season, think about all the things you can do in a Chevy truck. You can even just with impressive towing, incredible bed and tailgate functionality, and multiple powertrains. Chevy Silverado, the first ever Silverado EV, Colorado and Tahoe have what you need to get things done. When you want to do it all, Chevy's got you. It's Chevy truck season. Get 0% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together let's drive. 0% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 9.3%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 10/31/24.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here's what happens when you advertise on KBLA Talk 1580.
3, possibly 4 weeks ago, I heard an advertisement on your radio station from a company called Grid Solar. I would love to have that phone number so I can reach out to them with reference to solar panels being installed on my property.
Our listeners are aware and engaged, but more than that, they are loyal. When they hear empowering messages that uplift their community and help them live better lives, they respond. No medium reaches this coveted black audience like KBLA Talk 1580. So, hit us up today at smb@kbla1580.com and let us help you connect with our loyal listeners. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Money to bud.
Whoa, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
To help combat climate change, LADWP is helping neighborhoods have better access to electric vehicles by awarding nearly $130 million in EV rebates to customers just like you. From big savings on used EVs to building new charging plazas, LADWP is charging ahead to help all Angelenos experience the benefits of EVs. Get rebates of up to $4,000 for a used EV and $1,750 for a charger. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I do thank you. You know, we're talking with Doug Bond, who's the president and CEO of the Amity Foundation, and you guys do a lot of different things. We started out talking about the residential programs and your own background and how you were helped by Amity, and now you're running the whole thing. But you collaborate with a lot of different organizations, among them LA County Justice Care and Opportunity, and that's the event that's happening tomorrow, of which I am a part and you are a part. So what role does Amity play in that? And let's talk about what Together We Thrive even is.
Yeah, so Together We Thrive's summit is happening tomorrow. It is bringing people together, creating healing spaces. They're going to be having panelists speak, entertainment. It is community building for people that have been impacted by the justice system and the larger community. So everyone is welcome to attend. It's going to be incredible entertainment. You're going to have folks like Shaka Singor that'll be there. Hit Boy is a Grammy award-winning producer and artist. Many people that have been in the space and leaders. Susan Burton, who is a dear friend and champion for women that are coming home from incarceration, their children. Sam Lewis, who runs Anti-Recidivism Coalition, and many, many more. They really have done a great job to create an all-day event for folks to get the support that they need and to build community. The work that we're doing is hard enough as it is, and so we need to be able to celebrate supporting people back home and understanding that we all are a community together. There's no we-they dynamic, and it is the we-they dynamics that really create division, as you see in our country and in our communities. And
yeah, I mean, when you talk about community building, I remember the first JCOD big event, which you were also a part of, a healing space.
Yeah.
You did see people that you were, you know, now calling justice impacted for people that don't follow along, people who have been incarcerated or in other aspects of the carceral system. You saw, you know, random people from the community that just found out about a cool thing going on and came. And then you saw a lot of service providers and helpers.
Right, yeah, and JCOD has really been leading this effort in LA County. I will say I've been afforded through fellowships and opportunities to travel the world, travel the country, and look at some of the best and some of the worst models, frankly, to see what to bring back to LA. And I've never seen anything like JCOD. There's no other government organization that's set up and designed to help uplift small community-based orgs, build their capacity. They've done incredible projects like grant making, incubation academies for small community-based orgs that really want to help people, but don't have all the support or infrastructure to do that. And so not only are they helping people avoid going into the carceral systems and becoming justice impacted, but they're also helping those that are coming back home by uplifting small community-based orgs and bringing people together like this event.
And so for something like JCOD, which is a county body, it's under the purview of the LA County Board of Supervisors, but this is not something that every county has. It comes out of the will of the voters, really, and
right.
the decisions that we made around in LA County, a desire to put a care first model as our priority.
Yeah, we have some incredible community members that have been champions and advocates for alternatives to incarceration. You have an incredible board of supervisors that believes in that vision as well and supports that. And there is no other county that I'm aware of in all my travels and do a lot on the national level like JCOD. There's nothing else that exists that redirects resources to make sure that we really are thinking about how do we support community, how do we support the children that are impacted by this, the adults that are impacted by this, and how do we teach groups to do more. A lot of people that are leading the change are people that have been impacted themselves. I know I have that experience, but many others have that experience of how do you build a community-based org. We were once a very small grassroots community-based org that served about 50 people before we got to where we're at today.
50,000 people.
And now we have
Wow.
to, and now, those are things that require capacity building though.
It's also a reminder, again, here I go editorializing, that's my job, that when we as voters make a decision, like we did with Measure J, it actually does have a real impact, and sometimes a huge impact in creating a whole new county department that's doing things that reflect the values we say we hold.
Right.
When you talk about alternatives to incarceration, Doug Bondo, give me examples of what you're talking about, because I think when folks haven't been following along, they may think alternatives to incarceration means anybody can just get out, you can do any crime, and you can just run rampant because you're going to have an alternative to incarceration.
No, I'll say some examples of alternatives to incarceration are providing treatment. We're one of the few countries that incarcerates people over a health condition. Substance use disorder treatment is something that requires treatment and support and behavioral health supports and clinical supports in the community, and incarcerating people over substance use disorder is not a public health strategy, is not a public safety strategy, and we need to figure out how to get more people into housing, into treatment, into the supports that they need, rather than using the carceral system as the largest behavioral health hospital in the country. We have more mental health services in LA County Jail than any other community-based setting, and that is not a public safety strategy. We need to have alternative supports in the community to avoid the carceral system becoming the end-all be-all in terms of safety net services. So there needs to be pathways for individuals, and I'll just share, I had an opportunity to either end up in the carceral system or go to treatment, and I chose to come to Amity in my 20s, and that's what changed my life.
When you look back, do you ever think that it could have gone the other way?
It could have, easily, and I wake up every day knowing that I had the chance to really change my life and turn my life around, and that opportunity has not only affected me, it's affected my family, it's affected my children, and that'll have a generational impact.
And it's affected a lot of the people that are receiving help from Amity, too. I mean, the ripple effects can be huge. I think there's sometimes we don't understand what's being done on our behalf, and we think, oh, I voted for something, and then nothing happened. One of the things that I love, I love so much that I wrote a public service announcement about it, and we're playing it on the station every single day, is the hotline, the JCOD hotline, where people coming out of jail or prison, I guess, can call get rides to court,
Absolutely.
figure out where they're going to go. I mean, that seems like I've never, like I said, I've never been to prison, but just the idea of getting out and having, what do I do now? Like,
It's
where do I
incredible.
go? Who do I call? What happens next?
Yeah, so some of the resources that JCOD provides, the navigation, the transportation, the housing supports, all these things that people come home and they get a dozen referrals and are navigating a very big and complex system. And to have somebody help guide you through that goes such a long way. It's overwhelming for any one of us if we were told to go to a dozen different county departments for services.
Look, just trying to get, the utility company on the phone and you're on hold and you're like ready to smash the phone. Imagine you just came out of a long bid in some institution and now you've got to do 20 of those things just to be able to have a place to lay your head at night. Seems very overwhelming, and so I was super excited about the hotline and things like that, and there's probably a lot more resources like that than folks know about. What for family members of those who are impacted by the system, whether it's incarceration or some other aspect. Where would you start if you want to help your loved one?
I think going on the JCOD website and looking up JCOD and looking at all the resources that they have.
jcod.lacounty.gov.
That's right. And go on the JCOD website, look up all the resources. They have reentry navigators called RICMS.
Which is a big word to say, somebody that's going to help you get it together.
Navigate. Yeah. And it's typically somebody that they themselves have been there through that experience themselves. And so they're very credible to folks that are coming back because they've had to walk in those shoes as well.
Right.
And then, there's just such a large range of services that JCOD provides and that the community has available to make sure that family members are supported, that individuals coming home are supported, to make sure that people don't go unhoused and that they are getting the employment supports that they need and getting the treatment and other supports rather than using the jail or prison system as the safety net. We need to use the community as a safety net to really provide comprehensive public safety.
The summit that we were talking about is happening tomorrow.
Yes.
It's free. Interestingly enough, the first half of the day, which is all panel discussions of people sitting around talking, is already sold out.
Yes.
But the second half of the day, which is the festival with performances and DJs and dancing and food and all that, that's not sold out yet.
Right. I think it will be shortly.
By the time the show is over.
By the time the show is over, it will be. I think there's a lot of activities for folks.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people that are excited about it, and the panel discussions are the start, but all the activities and all the experiences that, frankly, a lot of folks haven't had the opportunity to have. Just incredible healing spaces and having music and entertainment and and really a family atmosphere for folks. So I'd encourage people, if they haven't, to be able to go on the togetherwethrivela.com website and to sign up and attend the ceremonies there as well, to attend these wonderful events. They're going to be giving out free laptops. They're going to be giving out a whole bunch of expungement services, voter registration. It's just going to be an incredibly resource-rich environment. I know we've attended the previous one together. And
that was so fun. It was that part you kind of can't quantify. It was fun.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be fun. And we want to build community. Again, we want to bring people together of all backgrounds. And whether you've been systems impacted or not, I mean, these are really healing spaces. All of us can use community and benefit from community as a whole in these kind of experiences.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I also think for some of us who may be feeling just a wee bit discouraged at the moment,
right,
based on whatever's happening in our political landscape, it's a way of connecting with people that are doing the work, getting involved, meeting new folks. You can go to you can go to jcod.lacounty.gov or togetherwethrivela.com and sign up to be there tomorrow. I'll be there.
Yeah, and I'll be there as well.
Yeah. 800-920-1580 if you got a question or some conversation. We're talking with Doug Bond of the Amity Foundation, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So, how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA residents, it's planting season and the perfect time to get shade trees growing around your home. LADWP and City Plants are giving every resident up to 7 free trees. That's right, 7 free trees delivered right to your door. Trees are great for the environment, help improve air quality, and can help you save on your bill when you use less air conditioning to stay cool indoors. Learn more at ladwp.com/free trees. That's ladwp.com/free trees.
That morning chill means truck season.
5 more minutes.
No snoozing. Do it all in a Chevy Colorado or Silverado, including the class-leading range of the Silverado EV.
Talking to me?
Work, play, hauling, off-roading, a Chevy truck can take it all.
Okay, I'm up.
It's Chevy Truck Season. Get 0% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
0% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 9.3%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 10/31/24.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
From the first day of kindergarten through the day they graduate high school, in California, 38% of students attend a public school that fails to meet minimum health standards. That's why we need Prop 2. Voting yes on Prop 2 will fund urgent repairs at local schools, protect kids from toxic mold, asbestos, and lead, ensure clean drinking water, and repair leaky ceilings and storm damage. Yes on Prop 2. To fix what's actually broken. All funds go to local schools without raising taxes. You heard that right. So join the California NAACP, nurses and teachers, and vote yes on 2. Because all our kids deserve a safe place to learn. Ad paid for by Yes on Prop 2, sponsored by Nonprofit Education, Labor and Business Associations. Ad committee's top funders, California Building Industry Association, Coalition for Adequate School Housing, California Teachers Association.
Heard heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
And the KBLA chat room at KBLA 1580 on YouTube is definitely appreciating the conversation, showing you and your work, Doug Bond of Amity Foundation, a lot of love. And that's where we started. I know you're here in support of our friend, our mutual friend,
Yes.
Judge Armstead, who's having the big the Justice Care and Opportunities Department of LA County Together We Thrive thing. It's all day tomorrow. It starts while I'm still on the air and goes until well into, I think like well into the day.
Right. Yes, it does.
And for some reason, Judge Armstead knows a lot of great DJs, so there'll be tons of great DJs there on top of everything else. But I don't want to let you leave without, at least circling back and talking a little bit more about what it is that you do. Because Amity Foundation, although you partner with a lot of folks, including the County of Los Angeles and JCOD, you're a standalone organization.
We are.
So, do you guys seek public support? How does the community interact and interface with you?
We do. We do receive public support. We always are looking for donors and people to help support some of the gaps that are often not covered in services. We do a lot of family, as I mentioned, some of the work with parents and children, and often the parents' treatment may be funded, but the child is not funded.
Wow.
But we make a conscious decision not to turn away families, and we don't want a parent to make a decision to go into treatment and have to put their children into foster care, and no parent should have to make that choice. Amity Foundation has an incredible services-rich environment. So we have several campuses here in Los Angeles for men and women that are really helping to support people. We provide comprehensive employment services and specialize in getting employment for individuals that have been impacted by the justice system or by addiction.
Is that getting easier? I know we had the ban the box, but did that really? Did that work?
I don't know if it's getting. I don't know if it's getting easier. But it's getting better. We're figuring out ways to really get resources to help people get into career paths that are sustainable. When I first started our employment services, it was forklift operators and janitorial work, and there is nothing wrong with those job paths, but there needs to be more job paths, for individuals. And now we're getting people into construction trades, into Hollywood industry, and into many other tech industry, truck driving. We're doing and healthcare. We have programs that work with the local community colleges, with LA Trade Tech and with Los Angeles, East Los Angeles Community College, and are incredible with getting people case management training, substance abuse training. We need a workforce.
Yeah, and it also always seemed like a form of double jeopardy. You already served your time. Now you don't get to have a job. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
We can find out more about your organization at Amity FDN, which stands for Foundation, amityfdn.org, amityfdn.org. So it sounds like if folks want to help, if they want to donate, or if they want to participate, you've got a newsletter here that we can sign up for. What else should we know while I have you in this studio about Amity Foundation?
Yeah, I think the contribution that we make to both workforce and treatment, and that we're a resource. So as you mentioned, please go on our website, sign up for the newsletter, learn about all the incredible services that we provide for youth, for adults. We're helping to co-develop housing, permanent supportive housing, and that's part of our collaborative strategy, is making sure that we're contributing to the impact and issues of homelessness in LA. And so we really need support from community members to really uplift the work that we're doing to help make the community better.
And you're on a panel tomorrow, right?
I am.
What time is your panel?
My panel's at 2:00, and it's about public-private partnerships, and that is something that we have spent a lot of time and effort to develop, because government won't have all of the answers or solutions, nor should they. The private sector also needs to be involved. So how do we mix public-private partnerships to fully make sure that the community is supported?
And a lot of folks may or may not understand what that means, but the reality in LA, we've had some real success with public-private partnerships.
We have. And, during the pandemic, we really leveraged a lot of public-private partnerships to make sure that we were able to provide additional capacity and resources to people in a real time of need. And so getting private sector involved in workforce opportunities for individuals and helping us to build the capacity, we really need the private sector to help support us.
I'm going to have to stick around for that panel because I'd love to hear what you have to say. Are you on other social media? I know we have amityfdn.org. What about other social?
We are. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, and I believe Facebook as well.
All at Amity FDN?
That's correct.
Oh, I don't think I follow you on Instagram. All right. And since I seem to live there a lot, I'll have to go ahead and follow you. Doug Bond of the Amity Foundation, thank you so much for coming in studio and sharing the work that you're doing, and looking forward to tomorrow's event.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, it is time for Wealth Building Wednesday after news, traffic, and sports, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know from BIN News. Vice President Kamala Harris says she's open to slavery reparations for Black Americans. In a radio town hall event with the Breakfast Club host Charlemagne the God